stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?
Suave afternoon, suave afternoon, suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a suavelous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence to pay. Okay, I'm so suavelous, you so suavelous. Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us. Divine social interactions remains marvelous. Mind-blowing, suavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled. Dr. Brother Suave, divine light get you dull.
Welcome to another edition of Social Therapy. This is me, your brother Wali. You guys know me from WKYT, where Wali keeps you thinking all day and all night long. Your good brother, Dr. Suave R. Walker, is taking a much-needed sabbatical. So for the next 2 weeks at 8:30 p.m., the next 2 Wednesdays, I'll be here to service you and bring you all the energy that you get on Social Therapy. That brother has done wonders for the airwaves. I want to thank each and every one of you who has been listening to him to continue to support the show on NPN TV. Behind the controls, many of you don't know, good brother Sheldon is making sure that it stays on top of the game, and we keep giving you this content that you so definitely need. I, your brother, will make sure that tonight's program with my very special guest will be giving you information that we think we all need in the community. But before I do that, I want to make sure you guys are having a good day. Have you had your rest? Are you into a springtime mindset? Well, I want to help you out on my end as much as I can with my voice, but I have something in writing. Many of you know my book again. Here we go. Keeping It 100, which you guys know I do, is available for you. Keeping It 100 is 100 of my quotes that I use every day to keep each of you inspired. I'll be talking about it throughout the show. $10 only. I'll be able to deliver it to you for about $4 in shipping if you're out of town. All my Georgia residents, I can work it out so I can personally deliver and autograph it to you. But we could talk about that. I'll give you all my contact information at the end of the show. But you know, family, tonight's program will concentrate on the sense of family, community, and health. Speaking of community, my special guest tonight is a brother that I've known the better part of 20 years. In my community here of Stone Mountain, we are ensuring that each one of us are intact in doing what we're supposed to do. This brother that I'm bringing to the airwaves has a wealth of experience, not only as a family man, a community activist, and staying in health, but he's done wonders on the airwaves with his history in music and radio. A brother like myself that's great in communications, and you'll find that out tonight when you meet him. I'm going to bring to the airwaves not only a good friend, but something like a big brother to me, somebody who helps spread wisdom. You know, I call my show Wali's Wisdom. This brother has a wealth of wisdom. So I'm going to bring him to the airwaves, let him tell you a little bit about himself. And at the same time, we're going to spread this knowledge to you. And hopefully, as you're talking to us in the chat, we can engage with you as well. Joining me tonight in a episode of Social Therapy, my good brother, Ken Tobin. Welcome to the airways, brother Ken.
Hey, thank you, brother Wali. Thank you so very much. Appreciate your courtesy and your hospitality, and brother Suave for making an opportunity for us to continue to communicate with each other.
Hey, listen, good brother Dr. Suave, he needs that sabbatical. He needs some time off. I think tonight's show is going to be elevating what he does in his show to the next level. And again, thank you to good brother Sheldon for making this happen. And before the show's over, brother Sheldon is going to get a copy of this book so everybody can have access to it on Social Therapy so they can, get in contact with me. But Ken, a lot of people, and I was saying in the intro, what we're going to be talking about is a sense of family, community, and health. We had a good workout today. Me and this brother at LA Fitness getting it on, making sure that we keep our bodies in shape as OGs for you. I want to thank you for staying in shape, Kenny, and staying with wisdom. But give the family a little bit of your background. It would not do me a service to try to explain all the years that you've had in radio, what you've done in music, how wise you are. And I'm going to let you talk about the whole mix master point. But tell them a little bit about your radio background, and we share that in common. Yours is a little more professionally extensive than mine. Give the family a little knowledge of what you know in that arena before we go deep into the show.
Sure. Wally, it's interesting for me in that I became enamored, fascinated with, interested in, and started paying attention to radio, commercial broadcast radio, when I was very, very young. Most of us get interested in radio around the time you start getting interested in boys or girls. So, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, usually when we start, kind of getting into the radio, because now you have these other relationships, you're maturing to a certain point in your life, and now you're starting to connect the music very largely. And since most of the music is love music, you're starting to connect music and so on to your real life experiences. For me, it started when I was 4, on the way home from nursery school, and riding home, being taken home from nursery school, and there was a storm that came up, and I recall I was terrified. The sky, the lightning, the trees, the shades, the shadows. I'm going home at the end of the day. Now it's getting dark or whatever. And what I experienced was the radio in the vehicle. I don't remember what kind of vehicle it was. I was 4. But there was a song on there. And when I heard the song, I focused on the song, and I was so calm. It calmed me. I felt so, I guess, safe. But it was something going on for my little 4-year-old self that was like, this is a good thing. And as it turns out, because I had access and control of the radio in my home at an incredibly young age, once again, I'm 4 or 5 years old. I'm a latchkey kid. So now I can control the radio. So I started, again, focusing in on that. As it turns out, because of the fact that we lived in the #1 radio market in the world, I got a lot of exposure to a lot of radio. And at that time, it was burgeoning radio. In other words, I was sitting there listening to radio when they invented something called Top 40. It was a whole new concept. And that concept was to take the top 40 records in the country based on sales requests, based on blah, 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 in the different formats in order to create these 40 songs that would go into a rotation, about 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2 hours and 20 minutes until you heard your song again. And because they knew they were playing the top 40, then that meant that most likely within that period of time, you were going to hear your song or a song that you were enamored with. And therefore, they figured out a way to make people listen longer. Bottom line is that I happen to have experienced that and so many other things, like the development of FM radio. There was no FM, there was AM radio. And then in my market, I came up with WLIB, and then there was WLIB FM. Wow. And then there was WABC, and there was WABC FM. And at that time, this thing, FM radio, was brand new. These things held my attention because now I'm that much older and I'm that much more aware. And as I continued in my journey, as I continued to get older, and now by the time my peers are starting to get into radio, I'm all in, just love it. Absolutely. Listen to everything, listen all the time. And it really was the foundation for my interest and love in broadcasting. So that's where it started. Very, very young with me. Now to go forward in terms of getting into this industry, and we'll zoom through. As I became a teenager, and as my family, my mother, father, and myself were relocating, as it turns out, you know how that works, generally speaking, the adults have more stuff going on. So
Right.
we were relocating, meaning moving many, many miles. They had business, they had their jobs and careers and other things that they had to take care of in order to be able to make the transition. I was ready to go. So I left before them. And as it turns out, I lived with a disc jockey. Coolest cat on the planet. His name is Dean Webb. Man, you talk about a bad man. And again, coolest man on the planet, I promise you. But as it turns out, in living with him, now I become intimately familiar with the inside of the radio. In other words, like what's going on at the station. And that was another series of experiences and a lot of knowledge that I was able to, by osmosis, because it wasn't like I was there paying attention and studying. No, I was a kid. I was a teenager by now. But the bottom line is, as you well know, with teenagers, it's like, yeah, you get about 2-3 minutes and then my mind's drifted off to the girls, basketball,
Of course.
basketball, and then the girls, and then basketball, and then the girls again. So at that point in time, I don't want to be on the radio, but I loved radio. I now have insight into what's going on behind the scenes so that when I become a young adult, I practically walk back into radio. In other words, went in backwards.
Right.
Somebody said to me, hey, listen, this is what you should do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Of course, you know what happens as young people? You know everything. What I didn't know was that once I goofed around and went in the studio to be on the air, and my first time on the air, I'd been on the air before as a guest, and oh, listen, he's there. You want to read the news? And I got those opportunities. But now, the first time that I went, and I was hired to do a show, well, as soon as the show started, I fell in love. Heard my voice. Fell in love. Oh, man. And at that point, I was bitten. And I knew the only way I'm going to get out of here, feet first.
Well, let me ask you this, Ken. And it's people who really have a passion for something, and I think we're going to touch on that. When people start to get something they may even in the beginning didn't think they wanted to do, whether it's radio, basketball, cooking, sewing, barbering, you find out that you have a gift. Same thing with me. When I got in radio, I grew up in the Bronx when the whole turntable DJ thing we was talking about it today, the explosion in the 70s when everybody was doing turntables, going from gangbanging to music, eventually breakdancing, the discos are growing. And because we come from that era where we know when there was soul music, which graduated into disco, and then, of course, techno and all of that, the transference of energy, which causes people, especially young people today, who may have saw a video or heard about how music transitioned into something else, they don't know the nuances where you and I had to learn the pots and get on air and know what it is to read a PSA, public service announcement. They weren't just acronyms. We had to know what that meant. FCC licensing. Unfortunately, now, everybody who has access to YouTube or Instagram or freaking TikTok think they could be a on-air personality. And nothing is further from the truth. And does it, in a way to you, Ken, make the art form seem like it's been manipulated or disrespected, if I could say that?
And you know what, Wally? Actually, no, because here's my perspective on that. And I was chuckling while you were talking because it is humorous to me. I mean, it's like you said, well, we needed to know the pots, the pentometer, which is your volume control.
Right.
This knob turns the volume up and down. This key or switch turns the apparatus or the device on or off. And you have to know which one is which one and which one. And yes, that was part of the whole process and what you do need to know or learn in terms of the operation, how the system works. That's great. But first of all, let me just mention this. When I started, you read news at the top of the hour for 5 minutes every hour. So that was an interesting experience. And the reason that I say it was so interesting, and I still laugh about it, and I hope I'll always laugh about it, I was awful. I started out and they go, oh yeah, we read the news every, yeah, sure, I know that. I've done that before, sitting in with Dean. Dean would be on the air, and then he would go, oh, you want to do the news? And then of course, he would have, oh, I got, this youngster with me, and he's going to do the news tonight. And that was getting acclimated. And that was where, again, the radio pros, and if you have been in the industry for 5 minutes during that era, what happens is they give you the copy, you rip that paper off of the Associated Press or the UPI machine, and you reread it as best you can. You skim through that information, prepare it, and then you read it live on the air. And they would light the copy on fire. You start reading, and they would light the bottom of the page, and you're trying to read the news and blow out the fire. And that was sort of, it was just one of those, what do you call it? A prank, just what you do to newcomers, like you do to the rookies.
Yeah, baptism by fire.
Yeah, for real fire. But now, in terms of where we are today and how folks perceive and what we hear and what they do, you know what, man? If you say you're a disc jockey, I say you're a disc jockey. I believe that. I really believe that. If you're passionate about what you're doing, you're interested in doing that, and you take that mantle, the worst that it can be is that I'm getting your impression of what it's supposed to be about. That's as bad as it can get. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're right, nor does it mean necessarily that you're wrong. It's just simply what you're doing. There are standards. There are, as we all know, like you mentioned, about cooking. Well, some of us can cook. I mean, I can cook like I have given you food to eat before, yes. and I didn't hurt you. So that's great. But now, does it make sense now that a sous chef or some high, 5-star Michelin chef says, oh, this guy is not a chef or he can't cook because he doesn't know how to do this? No, it's not like that. And it certainly isn't that way anymore, because now we have technology that allows anybody access to the medium. So how you do what you do is really the conversation, because in fact, yeah, anybody with a cell phone or a computer, access to the internet, can broadcast. They absolutely can.
And I appreciate you saying that. And I want to segue that into I guess you and I being OGs, the sense of family. Kenny, when you and I are in the gym or in the street and we're talking to younger people, male or female, and they defer to us about something they perceive us to know, and you and I have given out wisdom to younger people. And I think I'm using I'm paraphrasing, but you could clear it up. When younger people say, man, I don't know if that's going to happen to me. And we turn back and say, keep living. Meaning you believe that what we've went through, we don't understand what you're going through, young person. So the sense of family, you being a father with adult children, me being a father with adult children, how do you feel the young people, now segueing from music just into life as both parents and grandparents, the young people today, if they can hear anything, and I try to tell them, and like you said, keep living. What do you think maybe that's missing? I don't want to just say distant daddy issues. That's easy to say. Maybe they didn't have a father or their mother was on drugs. What is it you think? Is it the media? What they're reading? The music? What is happening because the world now is becoming more gun-orientated? Where's the young people's mind, unlike us? We didn't grow up worrying about getting shot. What do you think these young people is losing the sense of family, especially community? One of my quotes, A true warrior protects the village first.
Mhm.
The young people aren't getting the protection of the village first and disrespecting OGs like us, male and females, and they got to be brought back to center.
You know, I personally believe because of, and of course, everything that I say is coming through that filter that I just talked about a moment ago, which is to say, I'm a commercial broadcaster. I mean, I am a DJ, and that's it. That's what I am. That's who I am. That's how I am. And because I see things through that filter, my response to what you asked and stated is this. D, and that is, you say, what do you think happened? Is it this, is it that? D, all of the above, and very specifically, this has happened for a reason. It's intentional. It's intentional that young people are disconnected. It is intentional that we don't move as a community. It is intentional that we don't, the way I describe it, I'm walking down the street. I see you. You see me. I see you see me. And then I get to you, and so now I'm pretending like you don't exist. This is intentional. This is intentional. Now, when we claim to be OGs, but yeah, there's a reason for that. There was a time, and I am stating this as an anecdote. In other words, this is not scientific, but I am telling you something that when you talk to other people that are older than you are, they will confirm for you. There was a time you couldn't walk down the street, a street full of black people, and not speak.
Right.
You couldn't do it. We all know, and even the youngsters, we all know. Your grandmother popped you. You walk past that man and didn't say good evening. You walk past those people, you see them sitting on the porch, and you didn't say good night. What is that? But it has been intentionally discouraged, disregarded. Let's get the thesaurus and look for diss words, because it's been dissed. There's a reason for that. We could not have, as an example, the chief executive tell you, well, I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay any taxes. No, that makes me smart. We couldn't have that and then turn around and vote him in. We couldn't have a guy tell you, hey, look, I could stand up in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. They wouldn't do anything to me. We could not have voted that mentality, that mindset, because he's telling you right up front what kind of gangster he is. We could not have had that situation if people weren't as they are now. Dumb as a bag of rocks and don't have any regard for anyone else other than myself. Now, I want to very briefly touch on this. We literally saw that happening because it wasn't always like this. It was not. It happened during a specific, as a matter of fact, pretty much a 10-year period of time when we went into the, see these air quotes, me generation. And that was sold to us just like everything else, like all of these things now that you got a class action suit about. Did you, if you or some member of your family use talcum powder? Talcum powder, man. All right, Roundup. I'm using something, it's a chemical. I know I'm going out there, I'm killing stuff with it. Oh, it makes you sick? Not really a surprise. I didn't think so. I thought it was safe, but I'm not. But talcum powder? Come on, man. Come on, man.
Like, how did that happen?
How did that happen? How did we get here?
Right.
And the answer is because people are not going to jail.
Right.
Nobody I know of went to jail behind the talcum powder scams.
We should have saw them marching into the jails, cuffed up like the gangsters they are.
Dude, if you or a member of your family, your loved one served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 until 1988, if you served at Camp Lejeune at all, and you were exposed to the water
that you need.
Water? Oh, you may be entitled to financial yeah, they're entitled to go to jail. You need to be locking folks up left and right. And the fact that we as a community in general have allowed ourselves to get to a space where the only thing we can think of is, oh, he was in the military. Thanks for your service. Shut up. Shut up.
Get out my face with that.
You don't care about their service because you don't care about them.
There you go.
You mean to tell me there was bad water? Water! And it wasn't just, oh, it's at this park, it's in this, it was on the military base, man.
Intentionally.
Intentionally. This went on. I'm not going to suggest that perhaps they intended to make the water bad, but they knew the water was bad at a very early point. They knew way before we knew because it went from 53 to 88. They had to have known before 88.
That's 35 years. Now,
they had to have known.
Do me a favor. I
Yes.
want to follow that back up on the other side because guess what? This topic, and especially talking about health, we getting ready to take it to another level. Family.
Let's go.
We're going to take a much needed break for station identification. This is me, Brother Wali, with my good brother, Ken Tobin. We're on social therapy, and so are you. We'll see you back on the other side. Don't you dare touch that dial. We'll be right back.
We're shining bright, and we're shining the light on us like no other. Neighborhood Planet, our neighborhood, our world.
Wow, we're back. Listen, family, if you were just tuning in, this is me, Brother Wali. You know me from WKYT, where Wali keeps you thinking all day and all night long. But I am now here, sitting in for good brother, Dr. Suave R. Walker, with my special guest, good brother, like my big brother, Ken Tobin. And we were talking about a health issue. A lot of you have heard about the Tuskegee experiment. A lot of you are hearing about these things. Many of you are still caught in the whole pandemic thing. Some of you have been vaxxed, some of you have not. But you know, these things that come up now, the intentional, here we go, things that happen, it's meant to maybe have you pump your brakes and not believe everything you think was happening was meant for your health, and some things were meant to distract you. Follow up on that point, Kenny, because we're talking about health. I don't want anybody to think we're leaving them out, because some of them are actively seeking compensation from family members who may have been part of that unfortunate experiment.
Absolutely. I've noticed, on that specific point, I've noticed recently that personal injury lawyers in this area, I watch local television. I've noticed that the personal injury lawyers now have included the banner scroll on the ads that they had already produced. In other words, they've got an ad that's running for their personal injury as a personal injury lawyer, and the banner is saying, if you have been affected by whatever, if you served in Camp Lejeune or whatever, and the banner says, this is a Camp Lejeune class action suit water thing, and they're scrolling that information. So in other words, they're now, as opposed to where we have seen class action suits, there's like one outfit, and they may have all kinds of associates all over the world or around the country, but it's like the primary office or the primary law firm is in Connecticut or Massachusetts or Rhode Island or wherever they are. But I'm noticing that locally, what's happening is the personal injury lawyers have included that Camp Lejeune business. So obviously there's money there. That's what you know for sure. There's money. And this is where we are here. We talk about health, but all of this stuff, it's all the same thing. Follow the money. Follow the money.
Yeah. And it'll lead you down a dark road. And going back to the sense of community, because I know tonight we're concentrating on family, community, and health. And one of my biggest things that I try to tell people, number one, don't allow an obstacle to become your obstacle course. That's number one quote in the book. The reason I say that, I don't want to take it that somebody who is getting sick, that isn't a major obstacle for them. I may could blow off a sickness. I'm in shape. I'm healthy. A cold may not bother me. Somebody else that get a cold, they might as well have COVID, right? Somebody else who got this Camp Lejeune or whatever other thing is affecting people because they're not paying attention to warning signs, pains, family traits, histories, diabetes, cancer, vision, imbalance, vertigo. We can go down a laundry list of, wait a minute, what's in your family? What's in your DNA? Do you know your legacy or not? Are you just dealing with the distractions that TV and radio is giving you, but you're not paying attention to where you are in the scheme of things to staying on top of what you may pass down to your children? Now, unfortunately, ignorance is a disease too. Breaking the generational curse. Kiwi has the shirt, generational curse breaker. And guys, please check out Kiwi Beauty on Etsy. I want to make sure I give that shameless plug. But these are things that we need to have messages, positive affirmations. How do we stay healthy? Not only from a Camp Lejeune or a vaccine or whatever, how do we stay mentally healthy to make sure that when you get in a older age group, and I talk to 80-year-olds, how do I keep the wisdom of the elders within me so when I become an elder older than I am now, that somebody behind me can say, thank you for telling me that. And I told you I had somebody tell me today, Daryl, and thank you, Daryl, for you getting your garage door fixed. Some people tell me things I told them 20 years ago that resonates in them now. Do you think that's a mantra, Kenny, that we have to keep with our young people? Again, you have adult children and grandchildren. And good job with Jordan, man, you know, your grandson, in spreading that wisdom to him so he takes it with him as he becomes an older teen, that he can say, Grandpa told me that. And I don't think there's a key phrase to say, but what wisdom do you think, and we talk about family a lot, that maybe could be a starting point for young people to hear so they don't think they know everything getting older?
Well, I'll tell you what has been a recurring thought process for me recently. And that is just the burgeoning awareness of how many people had to show up, and I mean show up in a big way, in order for me to be here today. We came from a mother and father. They had a mother and father, and they had mothers and fathers, and they had uncles and sisters, and so on. All of what we generally call our ancestors, all of that, in order for us to be where we are today. With that thought in mind, then I start to realize, well, wait a minute. All of this stuff that I thought that I did myself, and you can see it starting with the babies.
Yes.
Hey, I can do this myself. No, I can do this. I'm doing it. I can do it. Let me do it myself. And we do that. And obviously it's part of human nature. It's not necessarily, well, it's definitely not bad. Yeah, that's part of how you grow, evolve, and learn things and so on. However, what happens is we, again, have been, and here's that word, programmed to think that we're doing it on our own. So even though let's make this a really bright child, even though the 2-year-old can tie his own shoes, I did it myself. Well, not really. I mean, yes, you did, but no, you didn't. If mommy wasn't telling you about loop around and then down, the rabbit goes down the hole and all of that, repeatedly for a period of time, if you didn't have dad showing you, oh, look, baby, you have to do this and that. If you didn't have that, then you would not have gotten to a place where you were thinking, I can do this on my own. And we are all thinking we did this on our own. Everything. That's why we're not acknowledging other people. They don't exist. They are not important to us. We're important to us. And we do everything we need for us, to us, and in order to be. This is not a mistake. It's necessary for us as a community and in the world. It's necessary for us to be this way. Otherwise, you couldn't get away with all of those scams and tricks and nonsense that you have been doing. This is why there is such a what is it, backlash against so-called, here are the air quotes, against wokeness.
Yeah, the woke movement. And it's not a movement, Kenny. That's just a term people use to say,
that's all.
I'm aware of what you're doing to me or us. And I'm going to speak on it because I'm not a victim. I'm not.
This is why there's that backlash. Yeah, that's exactly why there's a backlash, because it says, I am now aware. That's correct.
You're trying to keep me to sleep, but I'm keeping no dose, drinking coffee mentally. I'm not going to allow you to stream. And I see some people are saying on the stream, I hope you're correcting that. A few people have had some issues streaming. That's nothing to do with you, Ken. I'm just looking at people saying they were having some issues streaming. I'm sure Sheldon to share that. And thank you all of them who are sending those comments. Somebody said a good cover. They're liking what we're talking about, Ken.
Good.
But what I really think a lot, and you and I talk about this not conspiratorially, but when we talk about the system is against us and they're trying to keep us down, you and I constantly say they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Our job is to counter it. So we're not down because of what the system did. We're informed of what we're doing. So if we don't get there yet, remember one of my quotes, if it could be fixed with money,
there you go.
It is not what, Kenny?
A problem.
It is a what?
Issue, a situation.
There you go. And see, those are things people don't know. If you keep, we were talking about that earlier about money. Some of the killings and the mass shootings, people keep shooting each other. You could tie it back. I guarantee you these people had a money issue, something wrong in the home. That's tied to the economic system trying to keep them. We ain't worried about broke. How about broke? So some people, if they had $1, they probably wouldn't think about picking up that Glock. Not many millionaire children kill people. And I'm not saying that they're not capable, besides the Menendez brothers, but I'm saying when you think about the people, when you tie back their anger and road rage, when you tie back their anger in, I'm going to shoot this fool at the gas station. I'm going to kill this person at the park. I'm going to shoot this person because what? I guarantee you there's something going on with you financially that could have been fixed. But it wasn't a problem. It is now because you're doing 25 years of life. But if you could have fixed that situation with a couple of dollars, you feel a lot better than you are now about yourself.
To taking you. So in other words, they've added stress. Generally speaking, it's the financial element that adds a level of stress to people that, you can, these are predictable reactions. Here's my contention. And that is, I mentioned the word programming, and as well, of course, as you know, I'm a programmer. And this is why I'm adamant about this. Radio programming does not program the radio. Television programming does not program the television. Program the people. And folks are not understanding how much influence that the programming has, because it's voluntary, because nobody forced you to watch the TV. Nobody forced you to listen to the radio. And just like now, with this medium that we are now using, the internet,
yes,
folks don't realize. I mean, nobody forced you, but do understand from the jump, from the beginning of you interacting on the internet, it was already worked out. In exchange for your access, we're going to take the most valuable thing we can in exchange for your access.
And that's your mind. Yes. We thank you for allowing us to program you. What is that? Remember the outer limits? Do not adjust the television. This isn't a mistake. We're intentionally trying to program you. Right? The Twilight Zone. People don't know. Young people may see reruns of this. And remember what we talked about with Orson Welles doing the whole thing when he had people not knowing war of the worlds. It was a joke. But then people were like, oh, God, the Martians are landing. And they were literally committing suicide. Because if you program somebody to a falsehood to make them believe it's true, you got them. They got you. And you're in their pocket paying for this, right? But they're also in your mind. So you're actually playing to be duped. And that's it. Good brother Dr. Suave is on listening to us, Kenny. Hey, brother, we holding it down for you. He's talking about free will. Most definitely, Dr. Brother Suave. And he appreciates the programming and what we're doing here. Hey, brother, we're not only doing this for you to be on air. We think people, just like you said, it is literally social therapy. Some people need to get the mind right. And now, because we're at that part of the show, we're going to go back for a real quick commercial break again. This is my good brother, Ken Tobin. I want you guys to remember what we're talking about here. I may have him on for part 2 next week. You know why? Because I think it does an hour, not enough justice to talk about this. So I'm going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be back on the other side with social therapy with good brother Wali and my good big brother, Ken Tobin. We'll be right back.
We're shining bright. And we're shining the light on us like no other. Neighborhood Planet. Our neighborhood, our world.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm sorry. We're back on social therapy. I saw muted up there. And again, with Brother Wali and good brother Ken Tobin. Guys, I want you to be aware of something. We can go into so many areas, and we will. I do think this deserves a part 2. But what I want you guys to know, there's information out there. Some of you should research. You guys got access to Googling a lot. Some of the things we're talking about, you can Google it and then question what you Googled. But there's one thing I want you guys to know. Entrepreneurship is at each one of your hands. For the next few minutes, I want this good brother to talk about not only a business venture he's passionate about, something that's going to take it to the next level for your needs in a different area. You know, I could talk about my book, my podcast. You guys know I'm a martial artist. I've trained speakers and I do a lot of that. But he has a very interesting business venture and idea that I think is going to bring to fruition a lot of things that's out there for people who are the common folk who just want to know finding something and bring it to you in his words. Because like I said, I don't want to do a disservice trying to explain it. That's what he's here for. Talk to them about pro and con, Ken, and let them over and understand what that's going to help for the community.
Thanks, Wally. I appreciate that. Let me just tell you, Wally and Sheldon, and this, folks, is a little bit back behind the scenes stuff. I declined a phone call, and when I did, I knocked out my audio. So I can hear you, as you can tell, Wally, but not very well. Let me just briefly tell you about this enterprise. I explained, I'm a disc jockey. I've been a disc jockey. That's all I do is disc jockey. Yeah, basically, what does that mean? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I have taken these life experiences as a disc jockey. And as I said, I see it everything through that filter. And I'm taking those experiences. And at this point, when I wanted to develop a business, it was like, okay, so what do you do? Well, I'm a disc jockey. What does that mean? Well, I do this, this, and this. And and then when you analyze what this, and this is, it is entertaining, informing, promoting, marketing, advertising. It's all of those things. And what I've done as a business is created now a parent company that promotes. Oh, what is promotion? Hey, listen, in just a few minutes coming up, Stevie Wonder's latest one. I know that you're going to want to hear it right after this commercial. That's promoting. Hey, Brother Wali is on, coming in at 6 o'clock. I'm here in the air chair until 6 o'clock when Brother Wali comes in. You don't want to miss his show. Promoting. You're listening to your favorite radio station. We play all the hits all the time. Promoting. So there's promotions. There's the entertainment part. Hopefully, when I get behind the microphone, I have something to say that's hopefully informative, entertaining, humorous, in some way interesting. On top of that, I spin records. That means nothing to nobody other than record spinners. But I'm a DJ. I spin records. I've been doing that for quite some while. And there's that element that I now operate in that many other, and especially from the broadcast industry. You know, there are some of my compatriots from the broadcast industry that don't spin records. It doesn't make them lesser. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that I do and they don't. But many of them do not. I have been doing that. I continue to do that. So there's promotions, and then there's entertainment. What else did you do? What else is this all about? This is the club owner, the club manager. After, hey, listen, we want you and Wally to come down here and rock the crowd. Okay, we're coming out. After the show, hey, man, you and Wally were great. Can you get Wally to come back and spin next week, and then you come back and do what you did? What do you think it's going to take in order to be able to do this? What can we do to make this special? We got a holiday coming up. We want to do what you do. We want to do something else. How can we do? It's consulting. So literally, based on day-to-day activities, promoting, entertainment, and consulting, I created this entity to do that. But under that umbrella, promotions, entertainment, and consulting, practically and literally everything falls under that umbrella. Promotions, entertainment, consulting. Pro, ent, con is the name, LLC, is the name of the business. And I look to do my aim, if you would, it's as if a mission statement is to use every asset, resource, ability, skill, experience, and influence that I have in order to enrich people's lives.
Right.
Specifically, anybody. If you saw me, I want you to be prosperous because you saw me. Because I was in that space with you, because we did things together. And
I know I get a little bit excited about that. I know that what I'm talking about now does not resonate a lot because in terms of businesses, folks think, well, money is king, money is king. Well, okay, that's your perspective. But I'm looking at a business that I am stating now is about prosperity. It's about growth. It's about income. It's about maximizing potential, starting with me, and then for anybody else and everybody else. Why is it I should know anything that could benefit someone and Kiwi the Beauty doesn't know?
Exactly.
And Brother Wali doesn't know. Brother Suave, Brother Dr. Suave doesn't know how to do such and such and such. Then I know how to do. He's interested in doing it. I know how to do it. And somehow, no, that is where we are now. And I have dedicated this business to do that, because the truth of the matter is that money is not king. It's never been king. I can only speak from my perspective. Mm-hmm. It's never been king and it never will be king. People.
And the reason I wanted to
valuable resource on the planet.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can who don't really have a outside resource to help them with professional entertainment and consulting. We get a person who can be a promoter, I'm gonna do a promotion, then somebody who's in entertainment, then somebody else who's a consultant. They have three separate entities, whereas you combined it into a one-stop shop, which helps the average person go, well, now that it's almost like somebody working on your car. He not only knows the transmission, he knows how to rotate your tires, change your oil, and fix your windshield, so you don't have to take it to 3 different shops. You do everything. You're more or less like a dealership per se. And I'm saying that because in the arena that I do what I do as a speaker, as a martial artist, as a writer, you want people to be able to say, what is it else that I could do? Because I need this too. So you want to be able to say all of this, that if you have that as an interest, I can provide. Now, for any reason you don't have it right there, I'll send you somewhere to get it that brings it back to me, because that's the consultative part. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to consult you on somebody who has a little bit more mastery, if we will, of this information that you need, that you came to me to get. So I'm going to bring that person in so we can all share. What I want you to do real quick, Ken, because we got 5 minutes. See how quick this hour went when you're using your mind? Any contact information?
Yes.
Real quick, because we got about 5 minutes. I want you to give contact information for people to be able to go visit or contact you about right now services you have available, because I know you're developing the website, you're developing the concept to be bigger than it is. Any contact information anybody can have now about what you do, so they can maybe visit or reach out to you to get that started?
You know what? Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Wally? And now we're in social media conscious and active. That's a wonderful thing. I am developing that out to be like, what is the norm in the marketplace. But in the meanwhile, here's the deal. Call me.
Call you.
Call me. 917-342-2626. Call me.
Give them that again, please.
917-342-2626. Well, of course, I spit that out. But I say that because I want folks to realize, you know what? Most likely, like you want to send an email, you want to go look at call me.
There you
I'll
go.
provide you with anything that you would like to have. Like if you need information, if you want information, send me a demo, send me a whatever. Great, I'll do that. Call me. 917-342-2626.
You guys
917-342-2626. Here's what I mean by call me. I'm not saying call me when you're ready to, I need you to do a birthday party or a wedding. I mean, no. If you're thinking about something, You're working on something? Hey, man, I'm a DJ and I've got an issue. Call me, man. Call me, young lady. Call me. Let's get this resolved. Because if I don't know, I probably know somebody that does.
There you go. And guys who know me, my number, especially people who are asking about the books who want to get a copy, 770-815-9102. Email. The number's 307 WALI, that's Wali, at gmail.com. Anybody who may have missed Kenny's information, you can get it from me. You can get my
and vice versa.
From him. We're going to cross collaborate this. And again, we want you guys to be aware of what he's doing at Pro and Com. We want you to get a copy of the book, Keeping It 100, because you know what I do with this brother and what he does to me. We keep it 100. We don't mince words. There's times me and this brother talking about community, we've had disagreements, but we've had consultation as black men. We didn't cut the cord. We was like, oh, Ken, I don't understand what you. He goes, no, Wally, come here. Let's talk about it. Oh, wow, I didn't see it from that perspective. He calmed me down from a situation. I brought him into consultation. Remember the guy with Dollar Tree? He calmed me down because I was ready to go in another place. He said, you're protecting the little child. Because he knows something about my background with bully syndrome. He said, the little child doesn't need to be protected anymore. And for that, I thank you. So this is what I want to do, Ken.
Yeah.
This is one edition of Social Therapy. Can I ask for your convergence for possibly part 2 next week?
Absolutely. You know that.
Okay. Well, listen, this has been this first episode. We want to thank good brother Dr. Suave for allowing this episode of Social Therapy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the hospitality.
This is me, Brother Wali, with good brother Ken Tobin. We're going to be looking to follow this up next week. Until then, guys, you got one life. Leave it well. But guess what? Always keep it 100. We'll talk to you next week, guys. Love you. One love. I'll talk to you soon.
Programs like this are made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, iBlister Digital Media Creative, and from contributions to NPN TV from viewers like you. Thank you.